If anybody says that educational games based in history cannot be fun, nonsense. Because this gentleman here does exactly that, works for a company that creates historical-based games that actually rather play very, very well. Piotr, very, very good to see you, man. This year, you have First to Fight, a new release from Historical Games Factory. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yes, First to Fight is a game about World War II. And again, as our company is Polish, we would like to make games about Polish people and what made them famous in the world. And it's about our troops fighting during the war on every possible front in Europe, North Africa, and about the contribution of Polish soldiers to the final victory.
How does the game play? What are the core mechanics that make it really cool?
What is important in this game is the fact that all the soldiers that are available on the board and they are required to complete missions, they are not assigned to any single player. They work like a common resource in other games. And the clue is you manipulate the soldiers on the board so that you gather right people in the right place and in the right time.
Okay. That sounds very, very interesting, but I'm curious about one thing. There are an awful lot of games based on wars and fighting and everything. How does yours differ? What have you done with the game to make it stand out from any other World War II game?
First of all, it's very much historically accurate. Okay. So we maintained, which was very hard in fact, we maintained the original order of events, even though they are drawn in a random way. Mm-hmm. They take place in the game in the real order in which they appeared in history.
How did you manage that?
We have a time track with the war divided into single months, and at the end of each round you draw a card showing the number of months that the time track advances by. And if you play a variant of the game that introduces the events, because you can play without it also, the events are marked on the track. And even if the card is drawn earlier, they take place exactly when the marker shows it on the board.
How does that affect the gameplay?
Since you can skip the event part and play the basic version, it is. It really plays like more of a family game, but with a war theme, because there is very low negative interaction, because all the players take roles of Polish commanders, and we all fight against the Nazis. But at the end of the war, somebody wins because he's the most glorious officer, right? If you employ the advanced rules, it gets much harder.
Okay. And as games go, I mean, previous games like Sigismundus Augustus, it is a very deep, full of decisions, quite a complex game that requires a lot of thinking. Is First to Fight the same type of game, or is it a lighter game?
It's definitely lighter than Sigismundus, but it's. I would say that it's of average heaviness when it comes to the geek games. Okay. But it can also really well play in a family version if you skip the fact that people die and buildings and whole cities get destroyed. But when it comes to the gameplay itself, the interaction negative is very low, but the decision-making process is absolutely crucial, and planning for the future.
That makes sense. That sounds interesting. Also, you have really leveled up in terms of production. The game looks absolutely beautiful. It's full of tokens and cards and maps and everything. How have you approached this one and taken the plunge to go deeper into complex production?
Well, the beauty of this game, because if you look at the cover art, it's really awesome. We have a new artist in our team, and he did a really good job when designing the whole thing. Also illustrations on the cards and so on. But as for the quality of the production itself, you know, we've been on the market for less than 3 years, and we learned a lot during this time. And we want who to go to get better quality and to print better games, better looking games at least.
Well, I have to say, I can believe that, because I have seen upping the quality from Sigismundus to Ark of Animals. You could already see the printing quality in Ark of Animals was very good. The tokens were better than in Sigismundus. Not that in Sigismundus were bad, but in Ark of Animals they were a lot better. You really have.
I know that the pawns were bad in Sigismundus.
Yes, let's not talk about the pawns.
Let's do it, because I've got some news for you.
Oh yes, tell me.
Sigismundus is almost sold out.
Okay.
We've got like fewer than 50 copies here in Essen, and these are the last copies. And probably next year we'll do the second edition, and these horrible plastic pawns will not be there.
That is very, very good news. Listeners, if you've seen the unboxing video, you know that they came with some pawns that really that disappointed me, is that they didn't do the rest of the game justice, because Sigismundus, it looks a lovely game, the board is beautiful, and that was the only thing that stuck out. So knowing that they're not coming back, yes, that's a very, very good result. Now, okay, we've spoken about the difficult games. Now, Ark of Animals, lovely little game, more family orientated, more for kids, and still it kicks a punch when it's about gameplay, because we liked it in our group quite a lot.
Yeah, I guess that some of GMS fans know the game because you did a review. But what is funny about this game is that it plays within like 20 minutes, and you can play at the same time with a small child, like 5-6 years old, and a really experienced gamer, because of 5 difficulty levels that can be applied at one time for each player, different level. And you can play together with, you know, your son, your grandfather, and it will still be a challenge for everyone.
And you know what? It's really humiliating when a child wins at that game against you. I know.
Yeah, I know that very well, because before the game went to print, we tested it a lot with primary school children from our hometown, and they regularly kicked our asses.
Yeah, it happens. It has happened to me. It really does. It's a lovely little game. What do you have in the pipeline? Because you guys seem to be growing quite nicely and doing quite a lot for the very, very cool games. What's happening inside? What can we expect from you?
We've got at least 3 games that are scheduled for near future. Actually, one of them should be available here, but it's not due to some production issues. And we're starting to publish games not only about history. Heroes, the game that should be ready by now, is a fantasy game actually. A fantasy battle in real time with lots of dice rolling, and also a card-driven game with lots of dice rolling. We will have, probably next year, we'll have a game which now is called Nemesis. It can change, but we'll see.
It sounds very good, though, Nemesis, the game.
And it will be a good, a heavy one, a good game for everyone who knows and likes the Alien series and generally likes science fiction, survival horror stuff.
Okay, you win. That's it. You win the competition. Everything. Sounds fantastic. Sounds brilliant. Piotr, thank you very much indeed. Really always a pleasure seeing you. Seeing the game is absolutely brilliant. And best of luck. Hope the few copies of Sigismundus go away, and look forward to seeing the next edition of that game, which is a really decent game, and can't wait to see another one.
Yeah, we hope it will all be according to the plan, not as heroes. But thanks so much for talking to me.
Always a pleasure, sir.